Okay, so today we're talking about the road to $100,000 or more in junk removal from a single location in a major market. Meaning, if you're in a market that has at least a million people in the area that you service, a 25, 30-mile radius, this is for you. Can you do that in smaller markets? I'm sure you can. In areas that have at least a million, you should be fine getting to at least $100,000 per month. And I'm going to walk you through how we did it and how you should be able to do this as well. So, I've seen some great content out there on how to get to $10,000 your first month, or at some point, how to get to 25,000, 50,000, 70,000. But I want to talk specifically to those of you who are really striving, whether you've just started, you're thinking about starting, or maybe you've been in business for a few years. But if you have that number in your mind, I want to get to at least 100,000 per month because now I'm doing what the big franchises would do. I'm doing 1.2 million to 1.5 million annually, then this is for you. I think you're going to find a lot of value in this video. So let's get started. So where we started was one guy, one truck, one trailer, and we were clueless. We had no experience in the waste management industry. We were coming from white collar background, and we did just under $100,000 our first year. And that was with both of us holding down a full-time W-2 job. So we thought we were building a junk removal company, but I'm going to show you what we actually were building and just didn't realize it. That is our very first truck. That was our very first trailer, not even a dump trailer. What we actually were building was a lead generation company. What do I mean by that? I mean, one lead that was coming in was much more valuable than we realized day one. It wasn't just a junk removal lead, there were infinite revenue possibilities for those leads that were coming in. Junk removal was our core business, of course, but right behind that was demolition. We just weren't there yet. And why demolition? Well, keep in mind, a lot of you guys, if you're already in the space, you're doing construction debris removal on a regular basis. If not, you should be, especially when you're first starting. You can get more snooty as you go along if you don't want to do those jobs. When you're first starting, you want to do those jobs because those usually are out there by the droves. In fact, that's an easy layup. Call every GC in your area, call home builders, and tell them what you do. Tell them that you're full service, meaning you're going to bring the truck, trailer, your dump truck, whatever you have, and you're going to clean it all up. So where we are, we're usually about $100 ish more than, say, a 15 to 20-yard dumpster. So the difference is we're doing all the labor. We get calls all the time of people looking to rent a dumpster. And when we explain it that way and say, listen, if you have to have a dumpster rental, I can recommend this company over here. But keep in mind, we're usually about $100 ish more than a 15 to 20-yard dumpster that you're going to rent. The difference is we do all the work, we do all the labor. So we show up with our own dump truck, we load it for you, we haul it away. You don't have to do any of that stuff. And I would say 50 to 70% of the time we convert them because oftentimes they don't want to do that labor. They think they have to get a dumpster rental, but once you break it down and explain it, you can convert them. So, just a little side note, added bonus for you. But we got into demolition fairly quickly because we were already hauling away construction debris. It was like, well, if we're already hauling this stuff away when people are demoing decks and sheds and mobile homes and on and on and on, why don't we just get into that side of the business so that we're now capitalizing on both sides of the equation? And that's what we ended up doing. So we were getting leads that were not just junk removal, but they were ripe for us to pick them off from the guys that were doing demolition. So we could say, oh, you're demoing a deck or you're demoing a shed. We actually do that as well. So we can not only haul away the material after the fact, we can do the entire project for you. Another one I just mentioned was dumpster rentals. Now, we never got into full blown dumpster rentals, but we did have a dump truck, traditional, and we had a roll off dumpster dump truck. We did rent out that dumpster a few times, but we also realized fairly quickly we don't want to get into that business. That's not our business model. Not because it's bad. There's great money in dumpster rental business and it can be great recurring revenue. It just wasn't something we were interested in doing. But it's a great line of business if that's what you are interested in doing. Site services is really an umbrella term because underneath site services, you have demolition, you have grading, it could be land clearing. So think of site as in a job site, could be residential, could be commercial. In this instance, I'm referring more to commercial, but we got big time into site services. So that was another example of where oftentimes it was a lead that was applicable for site services, and our job was to convert it. Hey, we can do that as well. So we're a full service company. We can do the entire package and haul all that stuff away for you. So that was a really easy way for us to transition into site services. So for those of you that don't know what grading is simply getting the dirt smooth so that someone can put a foundation, they can put a shed, they could build a house on top of that land. So usually we're having grading conversations when someone has land that they need smoothed out. That's the context of grading. There's obviously some variables there, but that has been a phenomenal business for us. We also do a lot of rough grading after we do demo because we do a lot of demolition. So we will demo a house or a mobile home or a shed, and then we don't want to leave it messy. So we clean up all the debris that's on the ground, and then we will go back in once all the debris is up, and we will then grade that land for them. We'll even put down seed and straw, whatever they need. Let's talk about valet trash because valet trash is a very interesting one that a lot of you probably have not heard of and maybe don't even have the option to because it doesn't exist in your area. Valet trash is huge here in North Carolina, and I know there's other states that offer it. Valet trash is simply people that live in apartments or assisted living facilities take their trash, put it outside their door after, say, 6 p.m., and then a company will come in and remove that trash. They'll put it in a big bin, and usually they take it right to the dumpster on site. So it's just a luxury service that these apartments and assisted living facilities offer to their clients. So normally you would sign a multi-year agreement with an apartment complex, could be 2 to 3 years, could be 5 years, and it's recurring revenue. That's the holy grail of home services is recurring revenue. I've got a good friend of mine who owned a landscaping business who recently sold that business because he had a ton of recurring revenue and he was able to sell it at a 10x multiplier on his net profit. So at the end of the year, between all of his locations, he was netting about $4 million a year. So $40 million is what he was able to sell that business for because of the recurring revenue. The recurring revenue is so attractive to these big VCs or even individuals. It's so attractive because it's predictable. Every month we know you're going to get this much money. And then what they want to do is, especially the VCs, they want to build on top of that. So if you're already doing that kind of business, what they want to do is start layering other services on top of that. So you're doing this today with pest control. We're going to add landscaping on top of that. We're going to offer junk removal. We're going to offer all these additional home services on top of that. And we have access now to your book of business, all of your customers. So we had a very interesting opportunity with a company that had a bunch of storage containers, portable storage containers, like the kind that you would see where they drop off in your driveway, you load it up, they'll come in, haul it away for you, take it to the next state wherever you're moving. Well, we were essentially given hundreds of these storage containers that we were able to sell. So that was another example of a phone call that came in that we were able to parlay into a lot of extra money. Guys, that's one of the most exciting things about this business is the types of opportunities that will fall in your lap when you're a junk removal business is just astounding. And then lastly, it's commercial services. What do I mean by that? Well, commercial is contract based. So a commercial could be, for example, a storage unit. You may partner up with a storage unit company in your area and they may say, hey, we've got 100 storage units in a 25-mile radius. Can you service all of them? Some of these units, you may show up and they have 20 storage units that need to be cleaned out. And it's usually we need them done by a certain time. So just wrap your head around that. So we have had great relationships with some major storage unit companies where we have done tens of thousands of dollars within just a couple of weeks, many times over, by the way, just from that one account. And we have a bunch of those accounts. So that's an example of just storage units. Then you have apartment complexes. You can work with just apartment complexes. You can work with big box retailers. That could be Costco. That could be Walmart. It could be Target. It could be locally owned big box retailers or offices or warehouses. So there's a lot of money in commercial services. And we have a whole course that teaches you how to go after commercial clients, how to get those big leads. Because remember, one commercial contract, like cleaning out that warehouse, that can be a $40,000 job. So just think about that. No matter what, you know you're going to do 40 grand that month. Whatever you do on the residential side is bonus. You can turn essentially if you wanted to, and if you don't have the manpower, that means you could turn off your Google ads. You could turn off LSAs. You can turn off all that external spend and just focus on these commercial accounts, your repeats, your referrals. So that is why this is such an important one for you to be chasing. Let's talk about this Google review flywheel. Here's the matrix. A customer is secured, you do the job, the customer is thrilled because you offer outrageous customer service, hopefully, like we do. They leave you a glowing 5-star review. Junk Raider came in, cleared out my garage in less than 15 minutes. It looks new again. So now your ranking is boosted. Because of that, other potential customers see that review and they give you a new lead. And because of that lead, now you get more customers because they followed the same process. They left the review, your ranking increased. So you're getting more customers and more reviews. And it just continues this life cycle. That's why this is so important. So we now have more than 1,700 5-star reviews just here in Charlotte. Okay, let's talk about residential versus commercial. The reason why these are so significant, as I mentioned, on the residential side, you have single job customers, you have a lower average ticket size. We probably average about $650 to $700 on average on the residential side, which is still very good, but it's a single job in most instances. It's unpredictable volume. What happens when it rains? The other issue is constant remarketing. You have to remind consumers, hey, we're out here, versus commercial. Commercial, you've got property managers, you've got retail, and you've got warehouses, you've got apartment complexes, storage units, as I mentioned earlier. You've got municipal contracts. We had a contract for years with a county where 100% of those jobs were ours. There was a no bid contract that we were able to secure with this county. No one else could bid on it. So we came in there and said that job's going to be 30,000. That job's going to be 15,000. So that's why they're so attractive. Remember, rain or shine, when you've got a dumpster pad clean out times 15 of your local CVS stores in your area, they expect those dumpster pads to be cleaned out, whether it's raining outside, whether it's snowing outside, doesn't matter. So that's one of the other reasons why you want to be chasing commercial. And again, we can show you exactly the blueprints of how we've gone about getting commercial clients. Okay, the franchise experiment. I'm talking now to those of you who are thinking about one day starting a junk removal business and starting a franchise as a consequence. Or maybe you're in business right now, you've got your junk removal business and you're thinking, I'm going to start a franchise. I want to talk to you for a minute because Davis and I did this. Just because you can scale does not mean that you should. Here's why we chased it. Money, of course. The royalty upside at scale was very attractive to us. The other reason we chased it is because the bigger brand in that network. We could just imagine Junk Raider in every state, and it's going to be awesome, right? What did it cost us? Well, it cost us a lot of time and money, as you can imagine, but it pulled away from our current operations here locally and other things we had going on. Okay. And it also cost the travel, the away from home and family. So I am a homebody to an extreme. So is Davis. I don't want to leave. I've got property, I've got land, I've got my chickens, I've always got something going on around my property. I don't want to have to go. And that was something that Davis and I didn't really fully appreciate when we started out with the franchise business is, hey, one of us is going to have to travel, if not both of us. And the infrastructure required was significant. So by the time we were done with the attorney fees and building new websites and doing new videos and joining franchise groups and brokers and magazines, you're going to spend 100K or more easily. Then you have to think about your cost to advertise. Once you franchise, people aren't going to just start marching through the door going, I want a Junk Raider franchise. You have to know you exist. That's Facebook ads, could be Google ads, could be YouTube ads. But now you've got to spend money on getting the word out there, not just in magazines, not just with the brokers, but also you need to get the word out there online for when people are typing in junk removal franchise or best franchise to be a part of, best home service franchise. So we got enthralled in the beginning stages of all the money we could make if we had 10 locations and 20 locations, 100 locations, all those royalties, 7% of their gross revenue times 10 locations or 100 locations. That sounds great, but it comes at a cost. Someone's going to have to travel, and we just decided we were too much of homebodies. We really did not want to do that. If you're like us and you really just want to grow locally, there's a way that you can do that. Now, are you going to be able to get to 10 million, $100 million, crazy numbers? No, you're not in junk removal. Could you do it in other home service businesses? Yeah, there are some home service businesses where you can do crazy, crazy numbers locally. That's a whole different conversation. But in junk removal, just know your biggest markets in the country, Atlanta, New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, some of those markets, You might see guys doing $5 million Chicago, $5 million or more, but usually those are going to be your big franchises. If you're not wanting to spend $250,000 building up that franchise day one, this is the better path, is to start local, start on your own. Don't get yourself strapped down with so much debt. Do it right. But these are the reasons why we decided this was not a good fit for us. Why we pivoted was because we reweighed the whole thing. The growth for its own sake was not the goal. Building a business that gave us our life back was family, lifestyle, freedom, less travel, not more. We ultimately said we want more freedom. If we are going to grow, let's figure out how we can grow locally. Okay, let's talk about another very interesting business opportunity that exists for junk removal business owners, and that is the resale market. Also repurposing, recycling, donating, absolutely. But the resale market is a very interesting one. What happens to that stuff? 10 to 20% of the stuff that you haul still has value. So you don't have to build a resale business around it, but the option is there if you want it. The nicer things we keep out of the landfill, we recycle, we repurpose, we donate. So we have donated to nonprofits, churches, women's shelters, entire homes. We've outfitted so many homes over the years, entire homes, not just a couch, but everything they need many times over. But you can also repurpose items. So if you don't want to sell it, you can donate it, for example. You give it a second life. You can recycle. Your single junk removal business can feed all these other businesses right here. There actually is a lot more that feed into this model. So how do you reach that elusive $100,000 per month? Well, what you really want to focus on are the following. You want to focus on getting customers, building reviews, building systems, add services, add recurring revenue, focus on commercial, and then scale intelligently. And by the way, when I say build systems, you want to get an ops manual. If you guys don't have an operations manual, think ahead. God forbid if something happens to you and you're no longer able to run your business. You need an operations manual that acts like a Bible for your company that you can hand off to someone and they can take it and run with it. If you don't have that, we offer an ops manual that is for sale. Go to junkraider.com/playbook and you can check out our operations manual. It is almost 100 pages. It is everything you need to run your junk removal business successfully. And we've got a lot more than that. But check that out. If you don't have one, it's a great option, but it's important that you have systems in place. You want to document, you want to have the administrative aspect really buttoned up for your business. So make sure that you are cataloging, memorializing all the things that you accomplish for your business and put it in writing, put it on paper, digitize it in PDFs so that if something ever happens to you or you hire a good GM or hire an ops manager, you want to make sure that they have all the tools they need to run that business without having to call you every single time they have a question. So the biggest lesson here is, in hindsight, we did not just build a junk removal company. We built a playbook for home service businesses. The truth is, Davis and I could take the knowledge that we've gleaned over 8.5 years, and we could transpose that over to any home service company and be successful. Roofing, electricians, plumbers, pest control, you name it. There's so much to this. But if you do this long enough, you'll understand that the systems and the processes that you master, you could apply to any home service business and be successful. So once you've been doing this long enough, it may be of interest to look at other home service companies. You could acquire them or you could start them. You may want to go out there and start your own contracting business and become a GC. You're already tearing down fences and decks and sheds and mobile homes, which usually means they're going to want a new one in its place. So that may be an option for you. How many times as junk removal business owners do we need electricians and plumbers and landscapers and roofers? Often we get customers all the time ask us for referrals. Who do you know that does this? Just something to consider is really take the time to master your trade, build a business that you can be proud of, whether you sell it one day or just continue to grow it, pass it down to your kids, grandkids, who knows, but really understand your business. I hope this was of value and I hope you learned from it. But again, if you need any assistance, go to junkraider.com/playbook. We have the full playbook here that includes all the different documents we have built over the years. It's the exact systems, services, and commercial playbook that we used to go from a single truck to 100,000 or more per month. So you can do this, guys. If you need help, again, go to junkraider.com/playbook. Check out the different guides, templates, SOPs that we have available. If you have questions, comments, I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you next time.